But I think it was because of the language barrier, because when I went to college, I didn't know any English. My
Wow.
only
Oh my
thing it was,
gosh.
yeah, it was hello, I don't understand, and I would just be smiling. That was me when I first got to Florida State.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Friendlies. I'm your host, Sam Mewis, and today I am so honored to be joined by a fixture of the global game. She's played in Spain, the Women's Super League, and now she's in the NWSL. She's a leader on the field for Venezuelan women's soccer and off the field, where she has dedicated so much time and effort to encouraging South American girls to play. But more than anything, today's guest is someone who is incredibly fun to watch, matching speed with grace, vision with tenacity. Please welcome Portland Thorns forward, Deyna Castellanos. Deyna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What a great introduction.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. We're so excited to have you here. This podcast is brought to you by our good friends at Verizon, an official sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 2026. Verizon is offering an incredible opportunity to our listeners and existing Verizon customers. From now through October 13th, visit the Verizon My Access app for your chance to score the hottest ticket of the year. You heard that right. This FIFA World Cup 2026, no one gets you closer than Verizon. All right, everybody. Here is Deyna Castellanos. I imagine you're coming to us from Portland, where you just spent your first ever summer in the Pacific Northwest. You've lived all over the world, so how does the Pacific Northwest compare?
It was actually pretty nice. Even though I was in Copa America for like a month or so, just being here like with a sunny days, you don't usually get like in Portland. Like it was like very different to see and experience. So it was lovely, and hanging out on the lakes and like going to the beach with the girls. Like it was very nice.
Oh, that sounds so fun. That's like exactly what you should be doing out there. Long before you were in Portland, you were born thousands of miles away in Maracay, Venezuela. You are actually the first Venezuelan to play here in the US in the NWSL. So I'm wondering if you can tell our audience a little bit about what it was like growing up and learning to play in Venezuela.
At the beginning, when I started when I was 5 years old. It was a little bit difficult because in Venezuela, football or soccer is not women's sport. So it was like the girl cannot play. That's a men's sport. Like blah 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 blah. The usual thing. My parents, like especially my mom, she was like, let her be. Like if she wants to play, like she will play. Like I grew up with, I don't know, 5 brothers. That's what my mom will say. I like also like playing with them and doing like rough stuff, and look at me. So that's fine. So at the beginning it was a little bit difficult, but it was so much fun also because I got to play with boys until like I moved to America when I was 16. So I only knew men's football, like in a way. So I grew up with that, and I grew up with my brother, like just playing at home and with my cousins and like people on the streets. So it was like super cool. It was like just my childhood was just football.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm finding it so interesting that, like, obviously, I think football in South America is so prevalent, and obviously, you grew to love the game, but it wasn't necessarily accessible for you as a girl. But I love hearing you talk about your mom and how she supported you to play and encouraged the boys to just let you be and let you play. How did you find that as a young girl, having the person supporting you in this the most was your mom, was a woman, was somebody who was really advocating for you to have that opportunity?
Unbelievable. Like till today's day, like she is my idol. Like everything that like she has done for me, I truly believe that without her, like I wouldn't be here playing at this level. Like she supported me like from minute one. She will take me to every single camp like in a bus, like for 12 hours, like leave me at camp and then come back the same day to take care of my brother. Like she's just a superhero, I would say, Wonder Woman or something like that. It was difficult, but for me, I would say like it was more difficult for her than it was for me. Like I never realized until like obviously I was getting older, and I saw all the sacrifices that she made for me to accomplish my dream.
Yeah, I'm also so interested in what kind of representation you saw growing up. I know that you went into a lot of youth national team camps for the Venezuelan women's program and that you got called into the senior national team when you were just a teenager. But when did you start to realize that playing at a higher level, playing at that level was possible? Did you have any idols, anybody to look up to, or any examples that you followed as a kid?
To be honest, like women, like not really. Like I heard of Mia Hamm or Marta, but I never like saw them like playing. Actually, I think it was more like my mom and my parents like knowing about like these like superstars that play football and they were successful at it. For them, it was like the idea of, oh, maybe like you go to United States and like you get a scholarship, or like you go to Germany and you get to play pro. And like when I was very young, I will play against boys and I will score like so many goals against them. So like everybody would be like talking like nationally about me, and it was like, okay, maybe I need to start believing that this could be a career. I think like the vision, they had the vision, and I just follow. And obviously, I'm so passionate about the sport that I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I love talking to other players who really grew up in a different culture than me. I idolized Mia Hamm as well. And I actually felt from a really young age that I had a pretty clear roadmap of what I should do next in my career. And that always included going to college. I know that in 2016, you took this great opportunity to come and play and go to school in the US at Florida State. And just knowing how close you are with your family, how much you love Venezuela and home, was that difficult for you to make that transition to playing in a different country?
It was, but I think it was because of the language barrier. Because when I went to college, I didn't know any English. My
Wow.
only
Oh my
thing it was,
gosh.
yeah, it was hello, I don't understand, and I would just be smiling. That was me when I first got to Florida State. But I think as a family, we always knew that at some point I was going to leave Venezuela if I wanted to accomplish my dream, because in Venezuela, we don't really have a professional league, or like the level is not good enough. So if I wanted to leave my dream and everything, I had to leave Venezuela. So I think it was a hard decision because I was 16 years old when I moved here to the US. But at the same time, it was like, okay, like we all knew this was going to happen at some point.
Oh my gosh. Wow. The first word that came to my mind when I heard you say you didn't speak any English was how brave of you to go and make such a jump like that. It worked out incredibly well. You did so great at Florida State. You scored 48 goals in your 3 seasons there. You guys won a national championship in 2018, and you became this really highly regarded, respected young player. You were getting attention from some really big clubs when you were so young, but going to college and having this experience, deciding to go to Florida State, learning English, what about the education piece was really important to you and helped you make this decision?
It was clear for us that when I was very young, my mom, like, I was like super into football and everything, and my brother, like, he was a footballer as well, but like in school, like, he would do like super good, like he was such a like brain. And like I was more like the rebel kid, or kind of like that, like growing up, like compared to my brother. And my mom was like, okay, like if you want to play football, like you have to study. So if football is at this level, like study is at this level as well. So I think like she put that in my head, like since I was very young. So I took it seriously, and I was very young when I started college. So like for me, it wasn't like feeling that I was skipping anything, like, or I was missing out, like going pro at 16. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna graduate when I'm 20, and I'll have a degree, and I'll speak another language, and like this kind of process. Like we never rush into going pro and just like do it and do it and do it. Like no, it was more like following step by step, because I eventually that was going to happen.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love hearing about, all these steps that you took, all of the decisions that you had to make along this way. I think something I talk about a lot is I had that roadmap, so it almost at times felt like I didn't have any decisions to make. It was just keep going and this will all get played out for you. Throughout this time, you're already going in with the senior Venezuelan women's national team. And I think something that is so clear about you, Deyna, is every time you take the field for Venezuela, it's tangible, how to see how much it means to you, how much pride you have in wearing that jersey. Can you try to put into words exactly what it means to you, why it matters so much?
Oof, that's difficult. I think that's a feeling that I try to feel with every single team that I play for. But I truly believe also that without the national team, I wouldn't be here. Like people wouldn't know about me. It would have been like way more difficult, like to accomplish my dream to become a professional soccer player. Venezuelans were like so joyful, you know, like we're happy people, and like we appreciate like the little things, and representing your country, I think, is the biggest thing that can happen as an athlete, and you perfectly know about that, because we also know that like there are a lot of stuff that Venezuela do bad, you know, like, or the world think that we do bad. And I think like being a professional athlete and representing your country and showing that there is little good like in what we do is something that it can change the view of so many people's, because I think that's the reality as well of like who
Mm.
we are as a Venezuelans, and that we support and we're passionate and we work hard, and like we we just want the best for our country at some point. So that's my little like, you know, thing that I can provide to Venezuela, just trying to score goals and represent my country and do the best I can for them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's such a beautiful way of looking at that, the kind of complexities of representing your country. What can you do that's positive? And doing that on the soccer field is really, really beautiful. I also know that when you were only 21 years old, you were made captain of the Venezuelan women's national team. That's so young to be a leader of a full senior women's national team. How were you able to step into such an important leadership role at such a young age?
It was like, I think that was the biggest honor of my career so far, representing my country and being the captain of my country. I think my first camp, like in general with the national team, was when I was 12 years old, and it was with the senior team. So
Oh my God.
yeah, it was just a mix of
So
like
you were a
ages.
veteran by 21.
Something like that, yeah. So so I've been like with the national team like for so long that it felt like kind of natural to step and get that role. I also was the captain on the U17 and U20, and then like I think like it was a natural process like for me to
Mm-hmm.
get there. Also like my teammates, like we all were like pretty much in the same process, like from the U17, like we were all mixed in every single tournament that we played. So yeah, it was huge.
What do you think you've learned in the process of captaining and being the leader of a national team? How have you seen yourself grow as a player and as a leader?
Yeah, I think for me, especially in the national team, the best way I can lead is by example. Is something that I try to give to the girls, like not just like, oh, Deyna is like this or that. No, it's Deyna works hard like to accomplish her dreams. Deyna is a good teammate. She will help you like with understanding tactics, or like just like carrying the pennies, or like grabbing the balls, you know, like that kind of like leadership for me like is very important, more than the vocal that I am as well, like especially in Spanish that it comes easier, especially because I also play with very like young girls as well in the national team, that they look up to me and my teammates, that we changed that philosophy like in Venezuela about like women's football, that it was for men's. Now like we have like thousands of little girls playing football because of my generation, and I think that's a very like huge impact that we made. I think that the best way like for me to lead them is just like by example.
Hearing you talk about, talking to young players about tactics and carrying the pennies and the cones reminds me so much of Becky Sauerbrunn. Her leadership, like for one of the absolute best defenders in the world, such a veteran of the national team, of every team that she was on towards the end of her career, she was always doing those things as well. And I love hearing that that was really important to you as a player and as a leader, to lead by example and do the small things and show your younger teammates that even Deyna's doing this. Even Deyna cares about this and is making sure to help with all these things. I know you competed in this past summer's Copa America Femenina with Venezuela, which was such a fun tournament to watch, especially because we got to see so many South American teams that often don't qualify for the global tournaments like the World Cup and Olympics. And I know you've spoken about wanting Venezuela to get to compete in more of those global tournaments. What changes do you think your team needs in order to make that happen?
I think like right now has a team, like has a collective, like the girls that we were part of the Copa America with the coaching staff, and like obviously like the ones that were pre-listed. Like I think we are in the right path of accomplishing like our biggest dream, that is going to a World Cup, because Venezuela hasn't been in a world like in senior World Cup, like neither men's or women, like, and men's like they just like miss their time like to qualify for the next World Cup here in the US and all of that. So for us it's like very special also like to get to be the first, and I think like we have a really good opportunity now for what is the rest of the year and half of the other. They changed the way we qualify, because before it was Copa America, and it was with Copa America you were qualified to the World Cup, Olympics, Pan American Games, that they were like the three biggest tournaments for us has in South Americans like countries. So I think like we have a really good opportunity. I think what we did in Copa America was something very special, especially internally, to make us believe that we can actually accomplish this. And I think that was a huge step, because we always knew that we were talented and that we were good, but I don't know like if we believe that like hard enough to actually feel that we can accomplish all of that. So it's just gonna be FIFA dates and then like that, just like trying to get that opportunity of qualifying to Brazil.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So exciting too that the World Cup is in Brazil, in South America. It would be such an amazing thing to have you guys there.
Party time.
I have one more question kind of about the national team. And it's honestly kind of a hard question. And then I want to pivot and talk to your about your club career. But last spring, you unfortunately had to opt out of playing with your national team due to the uncertainty around travel and immigration in the US. And I feel like we talk so much here about how soccer is an escape. Sports are an escape from some of the really terrible uncertainty that's going on in the world right now. But it is getting hard to separate the game from the context that we're living in. And at this moment in the United States, I think I'm wondering, Deyna, how do you hope to represent your home country of Venezuela and all of South America while we kind of are dealing with this bad political situation?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously the political situation in Venezuela is also struggling a lot. For me at that time, like it was the uncertainty of not knowing when I will go to Venezuela, or I get to go to Venezuela to see my family, or like to go in camp and like be together with the team, knowing that we had like such a big tournament like coming up for Copa America and all of these things. Like that was like the hardest part. At the end of the day, soccer is escape, and I think we can be very vocal, and we can help like in that sense, like giving your opinion, and it's a job and everything. But sometimes like I think we need to humanize athletes a little bit more, and knowing like how we can feel like with the uncertainty. Like in my example, like my whole family is in Venezuela. Like I know probably half the information that they do, because they don't want to worry me or stuff like that. And it's just like sometimes you don't feel like in your best performance, because like all your personal life, but you have to step up and like try to overcome those situations.
Yeah, thank you so much for speaking to that. I think I agree. Soccer can be an escape for players and fans, but you're right to say that we should also be using our platforms to talk about these things. And I really appreciate you reminding everybody that athletes have a human element, and sometimes you especially are dealing with things back home, and it must be so difficult to not be able to go there and see them all the time. So thank you so much for addressing that. I think it's really, really important, and I'm really thankful that we got to talk about it. I want to pivot and talk about your club career now, which is so storied and really starts with Atletico Madrid in Spain when you signed your first pro contract in 2020. We've had a lot of players from so many different leagues here on this podcast, but it's pretty rare that we get anybody who's played in Liga F, even though I feel like we're always talking about players in Liga F, Spanish players. Can you speak a little bit about what it's like to compete in Spain and maybe why you think they're producing some of the world's best players?
My time in Atlético was like so much fun. Actually, like it was like physical, but at the same time, like you never like lost the sight of like playing football. You know, like combining and like tiki taka kind of situation, and like and that was like such a good mix. And I think in Spain they love football, and it's almost like in England, like they breathe football, like, or even more. And it's something that culture wise, like it's just so big. And I think it's just like kind of like Brazil kind of situation. It's almost like a religion kind of situation. They take it seriously, like very seriously, and they know they're smart players and technical players, and if you know the tactics and you have a good touch, like I think that makes a lot of the difference. And it's plus like having a good how's it called when you're in shape, pretty much.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
you're having a good shape, like
Yeah, fitness. I agree. I think there are elements of all these different leagues where it is more beneficial to have a tactical understanding, to have a really great touch and a technical understanding, but then also there's just an athleticism and a speed component that's really effective depending on where you are. I know you played for Atletico Madrid for 2 full seasons. You scored double-digit goals in both of those seasons, which is really prolific, really, really productive. And I'm wondering when you came up with your signature goal celebration, the bow and arrow. Was that at Atletico or was it before?
I started before when I was in college, but when
So
I was
fun.
about to when I was about to graduate, like I was talking with my team and we were like, okay, that might be like your signature, like Cristiano has the shoe, like Messi has the like, like why not you having that like already, like you already do it, like you like it, like just you can do whatever, and then at some point like you do the bow and arrow. So I was like, yeah, I love it. I actually love it. I have a tattoo that is a bow and arrow and
I
everything.
love
So
that.
yeah, so yeah, it came before, like when I was in college, but like we took it seriously when I was about to go pro.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I love it. And quick side question. What do you think of Kansas City's celebrations? Do you like approve of them? I feel like you're a celebration expert.
I do approve because obviously no one is against us, but scoring a goal is so hard, even though they make it look like very easy. But scoring a goal is so hard that you need to celebrate that, and it's something that you need to feel the joy, and that's when the whole group gets together and we huddle and like we get to celebrate, right? Like in those like 1 minute that can happen, and having a special one for every goal, I think like that's a really good team bonding, I would say. And yeah, I approve.
Well, I totally agree. I am like all about team bonding. So I definitely agree. I love celebrations. There was a ton of buzz when it was announced that you would be leaving Spain to play in England for Man City. I actually also played at Man City, but we didn't overlap, sadly. I have to imagine for you, Deyna, growing up in Venezuela, then going to Florida, then going to Spain, was Manchester just like so cold and like British to you? Like, how did you adjust?
I loved my time in Manchester. Like, I'm not even lying. The first year I was a little bit depressed because, like, you know how Manchester is, and how you said, like, I grew up in Venezuela, which is summer the whole year.
Yeah.
Then I went to Florida. Yeah, like I was like borderline with Georgia, so I'll get like some like cold weather sometimes. Spain like gets very cold, like when it's winter, but like it's always sunny. So like it's not the
Not
cold, it's like
Manchester.
not having it's not having the sunlight. I remember, this is so funny, it was the World Cup, the men's World Cup was happening, and I remember that day was sunny in Manchester. I got back like from training and I said like, okay, I'm gonna take a little nap. I'm not even kidding you, it was like 2 p.m. I took a nap an hour long. When I woke up it was dark
I know.
outside,
Literally,
and
I know.
I know, and I was like, I sat in the couch, I was watching the World Cup, and then slowly I went like this, and I started crying, like tearing up because like I felt like I don't know, it was so weird. But then after that, I just got used to it. So coming to Portland, I was like, if I survive Manchester, like there is no problem for me going to Portland.
I know, but I also totally hear you. Like, I feel like when I moved to Manchester, everybody was like, oh my God, the weather, you're going to hate it. And I loved Manchester. I was there like at the height of COVID, so I couldn't even do anything. And I like truly had the best time. I will say it was a difficult transition for me. I actually recently spoke with Sam Kerr about how difficult that transition to the WSL can be. And I told Sam that in my first game at Man City, I completed like 4 out of 17 passes, which like didn't impress any of my teammates at all. And I think for you too, Deyna, goal scoring had always come so easy to you that I imagine there was maybe some frustration when at City the goals just weren't piling up the way that you were used to. Do you remember like recognizing that in your day to day, and how did you maybe handle scoring a little bit less?
It was tough, and it still is tough. Like scoring like not as much I used to, because like for me that's like the part that makes me the happiest about football, scoring goals. But I do think I grew up a lot as a player, especially when I was in Manchester. There, I definitely like took football seriously. Like all the things that you say about a professional athlete, that's when I started doing them, uh, and
Mm.
and that helped me a lot. I think like I became a better player when, even though I wasn't scoring, I became a better player. I was more versatile and I was playing lower positions. If you play like 2 90-minute games, I was able to do that like easily. So I think I grew up a lot. Like it's still tough, how said, like maybe not scoring as much I was used to. I think eventually that's gonna come back because like it's like riding a bike, right? Like you never forget how to do it. But I do think I improved a lot after that. But it was tough when I was sometimes like very upset about it, or angry like for no reason. Obviously, like the weather helped to that situation, like how depressing it is. But yeah.
I say this all the time. Every great player goes through a period of difficulty, whether it's an injury or a slump, or they're maybe on a team they don't want to be on. Like all great players have something to their story that has made them stronger and better. Maybe that was that time for you. When your contract was done at Man City, you announced that you'd be coming back to the US. And for the first time playing in the NWSL, you spent your first NWSL season at Bay FC, but you moved up the coast to Portland and the Thorns. And I feel like this is such an interesting time for a player like you to be in this league. You aren't a teenage rookie anymore. You're in your mid 20s. You know more about yourself. You've been through some tough times. And I feel like you understand what you can bring to a team. And you in Portland in that way feel like you're in similar places, both maybe redefining yourself in a new era. So many Thorns legacy players have recently retired. So talk to me about the Thorns and about, you know, the energy of the team and what you feel you're bringing. What role are you playing there?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think like we both, like Forms and myself, like we are reinventing ourselves, right? Like I'm an experienced player. Like I play for really good clubs, and I also like with the national team like for a very long time. So like in the international level, I have like play a good teams as well. Like we all know this Portland team is very young, but it's very talented at the same time. Like I'm impressed every single day, like training with my teammates. Like even though like they're so young, they're so good. But I think like that's where my role and like Coffee's role, Jesse's role, like come up to the team. That is like, okay, we know what we have, but like how we keep going and how we maintain like momentum, or how can we teach them like to fight when maybe we're not in our best, like at our best. So I think like the experience part is like the part that I can give to my teammates the most, like controlling games, like the tempo of the game, trying to tell them like to calm down when they have to calm
Mm-hmm.
down. But I think like they're so good, and they're just gonna get better, and we are just gonna get better. And I think like this was supposed to be a season for us to try stuff out and like be maybe the worst team in the league or be at the end of the table and like look where we are. I think that shows a lot of character about who we are and what we want to build as a club, and I'm very proud to be part of that.
Yeah, I have so much respect for the Portland Thorns as an organization. I feel like when, winning and greatness is kind of in your DNA, which I feel like it is there from players like Becky Sauerbrunn, Christine Sinclair, really just legends of the Thorns. I feel like that gets passed down even when those players leave, which is so cool. You mentioned players like Sam Coffey and Jesse Fleming, who are undoubtedly helping carry on that great legacy of the Thorns. But you also mentioned that the rookies are doing really well. And I'm wondering if you can tell us, like, whose name do you think will be really, really big in a few years? What are some of the young players on your team that you're really impressed by?
Well, Pietra, I think like she's very skillful girl, like very technical. Like I think like she has like that mix of the Brazilian side that she has in her, and I think like she's just gonna get when better and more mature and like a little bit more responsibility. But like it's stuff that you cannot ask much of those players. She just turned like 21, like I don't know, couple months ago, and like we have also Kaya that she was like having a great season and the ACL happened, but I think like she's just gonna come out of that like even stronger. It's just in every line like we have somebody that is special, and having good people around them is gonna help them like even become better. And I think that something that is also special about this team is that we have such a good locker room. We are like sisters, all of us. Like, and that's so weird. And it's so weird that that happens in football. Like, we have no conflict, like unnecessarily or like anything like that. Like, we hold each other accountable, like obviously because that's what you have to do, but in the right matter, in the right way, and just like thinking from out of love, like when you get those conflicts. Like I think I always said like conflict is good, like only when it comes like out of love and you want your teammate to
Mm.
improve and you want the situation like to improve and you can move on from that. And I think like this locker room, like we do that really, really, really well.
That's so amazing to hear. I think you also have a little bit of help in that department of just keeping good energy and team culture from your fans. The Portland Thorns fan base is so legendary in the league. I always hated playing at Providence Park because they were so loud. How does it feel to play in front of those crowds, in front of your fans at your home stadium?
No, it's unbelievable. Actually, Coffee was saying, Sam was saying when we were in the huddle, like she said something like, "This is not normal. Like, don't normalize this because like this is not normal. Like, we get to do this like in front of them, and we get to have like 20,000 people like every single game at home." But that's not normal. Like, enjoy it. Like, that kind of situation, and that's actually what we do. Like every time we play at home, like it gives us so much energy playing at home, and I think that's why we have been so good this season at home because we have, it's not only 11 players plus the ones that they're going to be the subs. It's like literally like 20 plus people that I'm playing against 11 players.
That's so cool. That's like really, really awesome. I love that. I think that the fans in this league especially those who have been around since the beginning, like the Thorns fans, have really helped carried it and they give such energy to the game. So I know we're all so grateful for them. So Deyna, just a couple more. At the time of this recording, you guys are in a strong playoff position. What do you think those fans can expect from you and the Thorns for the rest of your season? What do you have your eyes set on?
Going to playoff, we want to be in a position where our first game of playoff is at home. So we were trying to keep winning games and adding points to the standings, like for us to keep being in that top position where we are right now. But we also know that anything could happen, especially how the standings are right now, that we are like literally from the eighth place to the second or third place is like 1 point
I
behind
know.
each. And that's just insane. Like you will
It's
only see this in
crazy.
this league.
I know.
But that's what it makes it special, right? But I think like they just can expect us giving our all, our best performance out there, like at home and away. and we're going to try to make them proud.
That's awesome. So just to wrap up, Deyna, something I really admire about you is that from when you were still a teenager yourself, you had already been thinking about your legacy long term. You founded an organization to encourage girls in South America to play soccer. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why this is so important to you?
Yeah, Queen Deyna Legacy. That's my program. That's my foundation. That's my baby. That's the most special thing that I have done in my career. Like trying to open doors for not just girls in Venezuela but around the world. Like helping them to get a scholarship here in the United States. States like that for me. That's what changed my life, and I think that was, I would say, like the best decision that I made for my career personally. Providing that for young girls around the world is something that is so special at the end of the day. Like what I always say is, you never know, or you would never know how many life you are gonna impact with that program, because maybe one of them like become a doctor and save a life, or like, you know, this a circle that never ends, and it's something that is super special to me. I have it like in my heart all the time. And right now we started in 20 ends of 2021 and beginnings of 2022, and we already sent 50 players to the United States with a full scholarship, which is
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
Yeah, is unbelievable, and we're still like getting more and more and more and giving that opportunity. And we have
Wow.
players from Venezuela, from Nigeria, from Europe, like from everywhere. There is nothing that I'm expecting from them, but like just getting an education and doing it while they play football.
Wow, Deyna, that is so incredible. Congratulations. It's really, really wonderful to hear about your work doing that. I think my very last thing, and I've never asked anybody to do this before, but I would love if you had a message for young girls back home in Venezuela. And if you want to say it in Spanish, I feel like that would be really incredible.
Yeah, of course. I'll do it in Spanish and I'll try to translate it in English. Pues nada, que se esfuercen mucho, que hagan las cosas con amor, que si tienen un sueño, que sepan que lo pueden lograr mientras hagan las cosas bien, y que no se les olvide que fútbol es solamente un juego que las puede llevar muy lejos. I'm going to English now.
Okay.
Well, that if you have a dream, to remember that you can accomplish that as long as you do it with love. And also to remember that football is just a game that can take you a long way.
That was really beautiful, Deyna. Thank you so much for doing that. I wish we had more time because I have enjoyed this so much. You are doing so much for the game, and this league is so lucky to have you. So good luck with the Thorns. It was so fun to get to know you. And thank you again so much for being here.
No, thank you. It was such a blast.
Thank you all so much for listening. It was really amazing to chat with Deyna and hear about her perspective on all that she's been through in her career. What she's doing to provide opportunities to young girls is so inspiring. Before we let you go, we've got our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. Each week, we want to hear from you. So call and leave us a voicemail at 855-611-4050, and you could be featured on a future episode of Friendlies. Here's our caller this week.
Hi, it's Avery, and I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and my favorite team is the Washington Spirit. And Sam, I want to say happy birthday. And also, what team do you think has had the biggest home field advantage this year? Bye.
Avery, wow. Hi, and thank you for the birthday wishes. If you aren't a regular on our TWG live reaction shows, Avery is our number one caller. She's a truly loyal listener. Avery is also asking a great question about which NWSL team has had the biggest home field advantage this year. And even without looking at the standings, the first two places I think of are CPKC Stadium and Rowdy Audi. I imagine the home field advantage that Kansas City has playing in their very own purpose-built stadium is pretty unbeatable. And they actually haven't lost at home at all this season. So I'd say that's working out pretty well for them. The Spirit don't have a perfect home record, but they certainly have created a great atmosphere in DC, and they don't look fun to play against right now. Avery, this was such a great question, and I'm wondering if you have sports media in your future. Thank you so much for calling in. That was our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. If you want to join us for this segment, the banana phone is open. So give me a call at 855-611-4050. Leave a message, ask me a question, and you could be the next featured listener thanks to our friends at Verizon. Thank you all so much for listening. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel or podcast feed and check out our newsletter delivered to your inbox every Tuesday with all the news you need to know. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you soon.